Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. 1970s Britain was a very complicated place to be, as that island was being rocked by social, economic and political problems. But as history has always shown us, out of chaos always comes great art. And as far as reggae is concerned, it manifested itself in the form of Two-Tone Ska, an eclectic musical hybrid of ska and rocksteady delivered with the energy of punk rock. It emerged in Britain towards the end of the 70s in Coventry, England, with the legendary Specials as the very tip of that spear, and soon burst onto the international stage. But though Coventry was ground zero of that culture, parallel pockets of that sound would develop around the same time 100 miles away in the heart of London, with a crazy 7-man musical gang called Madness. Heavily inspired by Jamaican ska legend Prince Buster, they would take two-tone to a whole new level. And while two-tone bands in Coventry were driven by political angst and social issues which they expressed heavily in their music, Madness were just nutters who communicated their street-level worldview and everyday lives in Britain with humour, theatricality and a fun-loving quality. And though these lads had no intention of becoming famous, fame and money would chase after them. In terms of pure commercial success, they became the most famous and definitely sold more records than all their peers. If we're also talking about resilience, they would outlast many two-tone groups with a closeness that made them more family than just a group. This wacky winning formula saw them tie UB40 for the record of having the most weeks spent by a group in the UK singles charts in the 1980s. But in what I call a slice of irony, these rebels began to revolt against the music business after it became obvious that their enthusiasm and trademark craziness had become a product to be exploited non-stop. It sent ripples that shook up the band and caused them to disintegrate in terrible fashion. Let's take a look at the crazy rise of Madness. The group's origins began with keyboardist Mike Barson, saxophonist Lee Thompson, and guitarist Chris Foreman in Camden Town, North London in 1976. These three pals, while hanging out at a pub in their neighborhood, decided to form a group. They added drummer John Hassler, bassist Cathal Smith, and eventual actor Dickran Tulane on lead vocals, and called themselves the North London Invaders. By 1978, and several lineup changes later, that saw Graham McPherson aka Suggs emerge as lead vocalists, Chris Smash as dancer and backup vocalists, and Mark Bedford on bass joined the group. They began to rehearse non-stop and began to play as many gigs as they could find. By the next year, in 1979, they had built up a following in the community of Camden Town and became regular players at a popular neighborhood pub called the Dublin Castle, where their mesmerizing mashup of ska, reggae and punk rock made them local superstars. They had by then changed their name to Madness, in homage to one of their favorite songs by ska legend Prince Buster. Meanwhile, over in Coventry, the Specials and their founder Jerry Dammers were at the forefront of the fast-growing two-tone movement, and even formed a record label of the same name to push that music. The heroics of Madness over in London had come to the attention of Dammers, and he reached out to them for a collaboration. In fact, it was under Dammers' two-tone label that they released their first single, The Prince, that was also a tribute to Prince Buster. That song from nowhere became a surprise hit that reached number 16 on the UK singles charts. They were soon after added by Dammers to the Two-Tone Ska Tour of Britain, a series of concerts that were designed to propel two-tone into the UK mainstream, in which Madness and Selector were opening acts for the Specials. The performances were so hot that they were suddenly in high demand by record labels who were all looking to take them on, and they eventually signed for an outfit called Stiff Records and released yet another Prince Buster tribute in One Step Beyond, which also became a hit that breached the top 10 and climbed to number 7 in the UK charts. Their debut album, also named One Step Beyond, hit record store shelves not long after. In fact, the same day the Specials' debut album also hit. That album was a critical stroke commercial smash that reached number 2 on the album charts and stayed in the charts for more than a year. It's since been rated among the 100 greatest UK albums of all time and spawned the hit single My Girl, which peaked at number 3 in the singles charts. Their music was light-hearted, funny and relatable, and their crazy fun-loving personalities with the boys next door vibes, and their fan base exploded nationwide and even continent-wide. they released their mini album or EP named Work, Rest and Play a few months later in March 1980, and that also became a hit with the single Night Boat to Cairo that reached number 6 on the singles charts. The next full album, Absolute, was also a smash that reached number 2 in the UK albums charts and spawned hit singles like the massive Baggy Trousers, Embarrassment, and the return of Las Palmas 7. Their formula was unbeatable as they remained laser focused on what had been their inspiration before they got famous, namely their neighborhood in Camden Town, as all the songs they wrote were based on their experiences at home, the neighborhood, and the people that lived around there. This formula struck gold again as their third album, 7, was also a hit that spawned the hit track It Must Be Love in March 1982 and the crazy and frantic number 1 single, House of Fun, that was inspired by lead singer Suggs' experiences in secondary school. Even their compilation album, Complete Madness, reached number 1 before the end of the year. With more than 10 of their singles in the top 10 over the previous 3 years, they were at the very peak of their game. The world couldn't get enough of the Crazy 7 from North London, and the fans reveled in their wacky raucous antics and two-tone sound. But by the time they were putting material together for their 4th album, they had begun to experience burnout from more than 3 years of non-stop touring and working, something that has brought down countless artists and bands over the years. And I believe the record labels were putting pressure on them to change their sound. Resultantly, their next album, aptly titled Rise and Fall, marked a heavy departure from their signature ska punk sound. Due to all their star power, it was a hit in Britain and also contained their international smash, Our House. A compilation album named Madness, released specially for the US market, also blew up in that country's charts to cap off what had been a marvelous year for that band, or so it seemed. After unleashing the spectacular calypso ska fusion track, Wings of a Dove, which peaked at number 2 on the UK charts in 1983. Founder and de facto leader of the group, Mike Barson, had become totally exhausted with the endless touring and hectic lifestyle of a superstar and quit the band in December of that year to spend more time with his wife, though he was convinced to stick around to play his role for the next album, Keep Moving. Now with Barson gone, they went to work on the next album that was 1985's Mad Not Mad, which was unrecognizable to old die-hard fans, as exemplified in the song Yesterday's Men, a bland pop number without any elements of ska or reggae. And for the first time in their careers, that album on all the singles failed to enter top 20 in the charts. They were now under pressure as they went back into the studio for their next project, and that process became mired in disagreements. And after protracted creative differences, Madness broke up in late 1986. After that split, Suggs, Smith, Thompson and Foreman reformed without the other two in 1987, but their project flopped badly in the charts, and that quartet fell apart and broke up once again. The guys all went on to solo projects with varying degrees of success, with Suggs trying his hands on acting and stand-up comedy. However, a few years later, a huge wave of Madness mania erupted all over the world in 1992 when a compilation album named Divine Madness came out and hit number 1 in the charts in several countries. That wave was so powerful that the guys couldn't resist when a reunion concert named Madstock was proposed for that year. The guys weren't sure how successful it would be, but were amazed and moved to tears when in August that year, almost 80,000 screaming fans showed up at Finsbury Park in their home ground of North London. The performance at that amazing concert and now legendary comeback was released as a live album that reached number 22 on the albums charts, the first in quite a while. And that show wasn't just a one-off, but marked Madness' return as a touring band, albeit on a much less frequent basis. They reunited from then on every year, electrifying stages at ska and reggae festivals around the globe to excited fans, and released 4 albums between 1999 and 2016. Quite amazingly, 4 decades since their debut, their 2023 album, Theatre of the Absurd Presents C'est la Vie, became their first album to hit number 1 on the UK album charts. And today, the guys are still in their element, making music and touring. And though now the senior statesmen of Two-Tone, the performances are time-defying spectacles that still leave their fans spellbound show after show. Created in a period of uncertainty and crisis in their country, their infectious happy music brought light into a dark period and were proof that we all need a little madness in our system to keep things moving smoothly. So there you have it. Thank you for watching this video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, God bless.